Hi there, and I'm really excited to welcome you this evening on what will now become my regular Sunday night divorce recovery lives. So every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, right here on my business page, Caroline Strawson, the divorce and breakup coach, you will find me doing a video. And each week I'm going to be choosing topics that I'm hoping is going to help you go through this potentially traumatic time of either a divorce or a breakup that you're going through. But as it's the first one this evening, I thought it would be really good to say hello, to talk to you a little bit about who I am, my story, and what brought me to be one of the UK's very first and only divorce and breakup coaches. So if you're coming on live, I'd really like to know where you are, where you're listening in from. And then if you're obviously listening in on the replay, if you just put #replay and where you are, because it's really nice for me to know where my audience are, where you're all listening in from, so that when I'm creating my workshops and retreats, I'm going to know exactly the right places. So if you're tuning in, I can see people tuning in now. Please say hello so that I know I'm not here on my own. I know sometimes the comments don't always come up, but if you are there, it would be really great, obviously, to say hi. If I don't see the comments and I don't answer, it's not because I'm being rude, it's just because I can't see the comments. I will, of course, go in afterwards, and any comments that you have or any questions that you have, I will, of course, endeavour to answer them. So let me introduce myself. You can see I'm Caroline Strawson. I've been divorced now for 8 years, literally just over 8 years. It was our 8-year anniversary of our separation this August. And what has brought me to where I am right now, I suppose, is a catalyst of events. So for me, when my divorce started, I was in total denial and total shock, which is all the first stages of the grieving cycle. And they're all the emotions that we're all going to go through. So I was married, I would say probably for the last 5 years of my marriage, I wasn't happy for various reasons, but I was really prepared to sacrifice my own happiness because I'd got 2 children. I'd got a family and I didn't want my family to be broken up. And also because I had gone part-time because of my situation with my work, I was financially dependent on my husband as well. So for me, there were 2 key factors as to what I was prepared to sacrifice my own happiness for. Maybe some of you can relate. Maybe you're in a marriage right now and you feel desperately unhappy, but again, you want to keep your family together. Totally understand those feelings. And then also you want, because you're totally reliant upon your partner for the finances. And they're 2 huge things. I know certainly I grew up with storybooks, happily ever afters, Prince Charming, the princess. You got married and you lived happily ever after. So for me, in those moments when I was going through my divorce, I felt like a failure. I felt really ashamed. I felt like I'd let my children down, and none of it was my fault at the time. I'd been through a really tough time in the latter years of my marriage, where there was lots of issues and problems, and we just had grown so far apart, and there was a lot of things going on. There was multiple affairs. There was just lots of things that, as a mum and a wife, I just kept putting my head down and I kind of hoped everything would be okay because I desperately wanted to keep my family together. And I suppose over those final years of my marriage, I completely lost myself. My confidence was slowly chipped away. I became a shell of who I was. And really, when I look at photos now of during my marriage, especially really in the last 5 years, it really upsets me because I kind of look at them and I look at them and think, that's not who I am. That's certainly not who I was going into the marriage, and I just lost myself. Now, you might be watching this right now and think, how can you lose yourself? You seem really confident. You know, how does that happen? But I know when you are in a relationship where you are feeling like your confidence is being chipped away slowly, you start questioning yourself. Am I going insane? Is this happening? Is it not? Because of what is being told to me, you slowly start to lose yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. It is a slow process. And the words that my husband was saying to me, my gut instinct was saying that wasn't real, it wasn't true. But because the person I was meant to be in love with and had married and we'd got children together, I really started to question what was happening. But I was prepared to live like that because I wanted my children to be in what I thought was the idyllic family. And that for me is really where I started to think, this is it. This is my life now. I'm just going to focus on my children. And that's what I did. My husband worked away from home a lot. So a lot of the time I was almost acting like a single mum anyway. And there were times where I would be obviously doing lots and lots of activities with the children, and they were my world, they were my life. I fully focused on them. I literally didn't really think about anything else, and I kept thinking, I will be the best mum I possibly can be, or I'll keep my family together no matter what. But I really was prepared to sacrifice my own happiness with all of that, because I was really scared. I thought, how would I cope on my own? How financially would I cope? How would I be able to bring up 2 children in the life that I would want them to be brought up if I was on my own? And it was really scary. So I just used to push these thoughts aside all of the time, because ultimately the more I could push these thoughts away, the more I thought, maybe it'll be all right in the end. Maybe something will change. And every now and again, I'd get a glimmer of hope that maybe our marriage could be salvaged. Maybe it would be okay. But then something else would happen, and it would leave me questioning what was happening, what was going on. Is this real? Is it happening? Or maybe a betrayal would happen, and I'd just think, why would someone, if they love me, do that? But I was still prepared to stay in the marriage, because ultimately I believed the best thing for my children was to have a solid and stable family. And that was how I carried on living my life, until one day, 8 years ago, my husband actually walked out on me. So you think about that. I was in a relationship where I was feeling very lost. I wasn't getting any emotional support. I was being told things. My husband was doing things that I had no control over. And actually what was happening was I was losing myself, but he was the one that actually walked out on me and my children, because I was so focused on keeping my family together. I was somebody, I didn't quit. I didn't fail at anything. I didn't want to be the one that would fail at my marriage. My mum and dad were still together, and I'd been brought up on this idyllic, when you get married, that's it for life. I didn't actually factor into the equations, what if you were unhappy? What if things were going on in your marriage that shouldn't have been going on? We had counselling before we split up, and I carried on having counselling afterwards. In fact, I actually got diagnosed with PTSD. So you can imagine what went on in our marriage. There was a lot of emotional abuse going on, and also he got diagnosed as a narcissist, so narcissistic personality disorder. Now, I don't say that term lightly, because I hear the word narcissist being bandied around so much of the time. Just because you have an argumentative ex-partner does not mean that they are a narcissist. There are really, really clear traits that really define exactly what a narcissist is. And over the coming Sundays with my lives, I will be talking about that. I'll be talking about the traits of a narcissist. Are you in a relationship with a narcissist, or are you just in a relationship with an asshole? Because ultimately that can be the case. So I know many people will say, my ex is a narcissist. And you know what? There are very specific traits, but often, more often than not, they're not a narcissist. It's just the end of a relationship, the end of a marriage. And actually what happens is, because there's often conflict when a marriage ends, we naturally say these words, and these words are a label. They are a medical diagnosis. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and get people diagnosed, because often narcissists, they will not admit that anything is wrong. So it's nigh on impossible to actually get them diagnosed, because you have to actually get them somewhere to be diagnosed. But there are really specific traits that you can look for, and I will be going over this over the coming weeks as well, so you can notice what red flags are. Ultimately, if you feel like you are in a marriage, or you've come out of a relationship with a narcissist, it can be incredibly difficult, probably more difficult than anybody else. There are a lot of personality disorders, but narcissistic personality disorder is really, really tough in that they will want to perceive themselves in a certain way, that they are the great ex-husband, the great father, the great mother, the great ex-wife. and they will want to perceive themselves as that. And that makes you feel like you are constantly on the defensive all of the time, questioning what you do as a mother, questioning everything. So you are constantly in battle mode, you're constantly in fight or flight. So although we were going through a divorce and we'd split up, that absolutely was not where it ended. And in fact, I probably found it more difficult after we ended our marriage than actually in the latter years, because I kind of just lost myself and was focusing on my children. So the hardest part really, I would say for me, was once we started the divorce process, because dealing with a narcissist, co-parenting with a narcissist, which is again something I'll be talking about in my divorce recovery lives, is really, really challenging. It's so difficult. And I talk a lot about that. You cannot co-parent with a narcissist. You can what I call parallel parenting. And I believe if they are a true narcissist, you cannot co-parent with them. Obviously, everything I am talking about in my videos and my Facebook lives, these are all things that I have studied, these are all things, and they are my opinion. So these are the things that I do, these are the things that I recognise, these are the things that I feel and think, knowing all my experiences and obviously the knowledge that I now have. You may think differently, that's fine as well. It's different opinions that make the world go round. So I was going through my divorce, and it was a real struggle, and I hit rock bottom. When I came out of my marriage, we were in over £70,000 worth of debt. So you can imagine, as a single mum, not only had my marriage broken down, I'd got all of this debt hanging over me as well. And actually it culminated in I had my family home repossessed as well in the April of 2013. A really low point for me, I have to say, because ultimately, having my house repossessed, you know what it's like. As you get older, you kind of feel like things should be getting better. You've got goals and dreams together. All of a sudden, I found myself as a single mum. I'd got no money. I was in a huge amount of debt, and I'd lost my family home. And yet I'd got my 2 children looking at me to be the strong one, where all I wanted to do was actually crawl under my duvet, hide under there and not see or speak to anybody else. But I had to keep going, and it was really, really tough. You know, I'd start my days on the bathroom floor having a panic attack. I suffered with depression, anxiety. I used to self-harm. So I was really, really at rock bottom. But my focus was children, children, children. I cannot let them down. And you know what? Thank God I had my children, because I don't even know if I'd be sat here right now if I didn't have my children. I was in that low place. Dark, dark days. And it was such a lonely time for me, because I didn't want to keep bothering everybody else with what I was going through. People often think in a divorce, don't they, for those of you who are going through it, that you start the divorce process and then a couple of months down the line, you're just going to get on with it. But actually, divorce is the second most traumatic life event that you can go through, second only to losing a loved one. So all of that grief cycle that you are going to go through, if you had lost somebody, you are going to do exactly the same. Now, don't get me wrong, when I came out of my marriage at that time, it wasn't like I'd lost the love of my life at that stage, but I still had to go through all of that grieving cycle. And I certainly got very, very stuck in the anger stage. Because when you are dealing with a narcissist, there's no apology, there's no justification, there's no acknowledgement. It's almost a rewriting of history. And I really struggled with that, because I felt like I was trying to do the best as a single mum, yet I felt that there was no acknowledgement about what he'd done, what had happened, and everything like that too. So for me, it was a really, really tough time. You know, losing my home, having all of that debt. So I started a business, which luckily for me massively took off and enabled me to clear my debt, to be able to then support my children in the manner I wanted to give them the life. And what happened was, over that period of time, is I massively worked on myself. I had to take responsibility. The light bulb moment for me was when I realised that my ex-husband was never going to apologise. And I often say this now to my clients and those in my private group, that if you are waiting for a narcissist to apologise, to justify what they did, to acknowledge what they did to hurt you, you are absolutely wasting your time. And it's like you drinking rat poison and waiting for the rat to die. All you are doing is consistently poisoning yourself, and nothing is going to happen with them apologising or saying anything, because therefore a true narcissist, that will not happen. It just won't. you know, and there's, like I say, there's a very clear definition that you can define between a narcissist and then just somebody who is acrimonious and wants conflict with you. It's very, very different. They don't recognize it. So I was dealing with all of this, and it was incredibly difficult, you know, and trying to be the best mum I possibly could, but I just felt like I'd lost my confidence. I didn't want to look in the mirror. I felt ugly. I felt fat. I was wearing grey tracksuits, baggy clothes, just didn't really want to see or speak to anybody, if I'm honest. And I really started to isolate myself, which is obviously one of the traits of when you are suffering with depression. Now, bear in mind, I was also suffering with PTSD, which again, a lot of people will associate of you going to war and that. But actually, again, there are specific things that you can go through that will obviously diagnose you with PTSD. So I went to see a psychotherapist at the time, and she diagnosed me as having PTSD because prior to my husband walking out, unfortunately, my mum had passed away really suddenly. So I'd had some pretty huge life events in a very short period of time, with my mum passing away, my husband walking out, all of that debt, and then losing my home. So you can imagine, rather than just one of those happening and you have time to deal with them, I literally bang, 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 had all of these. And I was trying to cope, and I felt so overwhelmed. I felt so low in myself that it was like I was in this long, dark tunnel, and I could not see any way out of it. I couldn't see a light at the end of this tunnel, and it was so difficult. It really was. So over the coming years, I invested in myself. I started to realise that if I was going to get better, if I was going to build my confidence again, I had to take responsibility for that. I, at some stage, just wanted my knight in shining armour to come in. I wanted someone to come and rescue me. I wanted someone to make it okay again for me. I was so angry. Why did he do this to me? Why am I in this situation? I'm a good person. This shouldn't be happening to me. And I felt really, really angry, but that wasn't serving anybody. My anger, all it was doing was hindering my healing and recovery from my own divorce, and clinging on to all of that anger was helping nobody. So I needed to learn that the only person I had control over at that time was me, and that is all. I have no control over what my ex-husband was saying, doing. I had no control over anybody else. I had control over my responses, my choices, and I had control of that. I needed to take back my own power in that scenario and not give it to somebody else. And you may be watching right now, and maybe, you know, you're feeling in that anger stage of that healing cycle, and it's really hard to get out of that particular one because you feel really badly done to. Why has this happened? Why did they do that? And it is really hard to come out of it. But let me tell you, until you move on from that, you will not heal fully, because it will come back and come back and come back again. You've got to learn to let go of that anger. And by talking about forgiveness, I'm not talking that you're going to forgive them maybe for what they did, but what you're going to do is you're going to forgive them to allow you to heal and move forward. And there's a really key difference with all of that, because you need to know your self-worth right now. You need to know that you deserve more than that. And this for me was like this light bulb moment for me, that I suddenly thought, why am I giving somebody else all the power here? What am I going to do? Am I going to wait forevermore for him to apologise and justify what he did and acknowledge what happened? Because I knew deep down that was never going to happen. So I could choose to stay in this state knowing it would never happen, but maybe there was a glimmer of hope that it would, or I could move on from it. And I chose to move on. Nobody was going to come and rescue me. No knight in white shining armour was going to come, scoop me up and make it all okay again. I had to give myself the biggest gift possible and rescue myself. Because not only by doing that was I going to rescue myself in this scenario, I was going to equip myself with an amazing resilience toolkit so that I could then go on, and anything else then that happens in my life, I've got the necessary tools to know how to deal with it. And the same for my children. All the things that I have learned, I am now teaching them really key strategies on how to deal with anger and emotion. And you know what it's like when kids are at school, that can happen all of the time. And they are implementing all of these tools as well. So it's all about you taking responsibility. That was the first lesson for me. I needed to take responsibility for what happened. I needed to take responsibility for my own healing. And the moment I did that, the moment I could move forward as well. And until I did that, I was going to stay stuck. It was like every day was walking in treacle. It was so hard. You know, morning I'd wake up, I'd sit on my bathroom floor, I would have a panic attack, I'd have to calm myself down, I would get dressed, I wouldn't look in the mirror properly, I'd do a bit of makeup, and then I would get the kids up and do their lunches and take them to school and then go to work. And that was my day. I'd get home, I'd sort their tea out, I'd put them to bed, and then I'd have my staple diet of wine, chili Snacker Jacks, and cheese and chive dip. So I wasn't even feeding myself, I wasn't looking after my body, because I felt so worthless that I just made sure the kids were okay, but actually I didn't make sure that I was okay. And actually, first and foremost, you should be looking after yourself, because if you're not right, then nobody's going to be right. And especially if you have children, they are going to be reliant upon you. So over the time, I started to build up my confidence. Positive psychology for me was a massive influence in my life at this stage. Positive psychology is the science of happiness. So psychology, which has been around many, many years, is the study of what's wrong with people. Why is someone depressed? Why are they an addict? Why are they anxious? So it looks at what is wrong with people, what makes them sad. Positive psychology turns that on its head, and it's a relatively new science, been around about 20-25 years. And basically what positive psychology looks at is what makes people happy. So rather than studying the miserable people and thinking, well, how do we make them less miserable? We want to study the happy people and think, well, what makes them happy? So we can implement those strategies and tools to be happier. So one of the big things for me, it's not about moving people from miserable to less miserable. It's about moving people to happiness and thriving and flourishing in their life. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just bounce back after my divorce. I wanted to bounce forward. And that's exactly what I have gone on to do. Was it easy? Absolutely not. Was I at rock bottom? Absolutely. Could I see a light at the end of the tunnel whilst I was going through all of this? Absolutely not. Genuinely, when I was bringing my children up on my own, I used to think, just get them to 18, then I've done what I needed to do, and then I don't know what's going to happen in my life, but at least I've brought my children to 18. And again, I was prepared to sacrifice my own happiness in all of this. And ultimately, life is a gift for us, and we shouldn't be wasting one single second in that scenario. So as the years went on, it still carried on being the same with my ex-husband, acrimonious, you know, so much arguing, back and forth texts. And one of the recovery lives I'm going to talk about in a couple of weeks is actually co-parenting with a narcissist. Some real key strategies that massively work for me right now, and I will share what works for me in that scenario to see if it will work for you as well. So what's brought me to where I am now? Well, I realised whilst I was doing my master's degree in positive psychology and coaching psychology that actually what I love to do is to help people. And I kept thinking, you know, if I want to help people, what's the best way that I can do that? And you know what? Because I have been through my own divorce, because I have been at rock bottom, because I know what it's like to literally lose everything, because I know what it's like to feel worthless and no confidence, I feel I'm in the best position to help others through all of that as well. So I've now gone on to become one of the UK's only and first divorce and breakup coaches. And for me, it's about helping people recover using positive psychology and practical strategies and exercises to literally move people forward. I don't necessarily want to keep people stuck in the past. I get it's stuff we need to talk about, but ultimately what I'm interested in is helping people completely transform their lives. And I am such a believer that your divorce can be a catalyst for a total life redesign. And it's really important for me to help women around the world realize that, because I know and I see it and I speak to many women where we feel stuck. We don't know what to do. And all of the anger is directed at our ex-partners, where actually what we can do is we can take back that power, take back that control and carve out a new life. We very often forget who we are in this process. We're mum or ex-wife or daughter or sister, but ultimately what we are is us first and foremost. I lost Caroline in the process of my divorce, but now I am absolutely Caroline. I have my own identity, I know my values, I know my boundaries. I've even remarried now, but I am with my husband now because I want to be, not because I need to be. And we have very clear boundaries. I know my values, I know what my red flags are, and so we communicate all of that. And we actually met online as well. So, you know, one of the big things that I coach women with is online dating, you know, designing your ideal partner. So I can help people literally now move from should I stay or should I go? Because you might be in a marriage right now and you're not quite ready to let go. And I've got some great key exercises to help you go through a 3-month process of whether you should stay or whether you should go. All the way through to healing heartbreak, you know, recreating boundaries, knowing what red flags to look for, emotionally, physically abusive relationships, conflict, what do you do when you see your ex again, knowing your own values. Children is a massive one. How do you deal with that? That was really difficult for me in that scenario. Your finances, you know, what's coming in, what's going out, really honing in, not burying your head in the sand, all the way through to are you ready to start dating again? And if you are, what are you looking for? How can we ensure you're going to meet the right people? Are you going to be looking for Mr. Right or Mr. Right now? And there's a clear difference with that, because if you know your boundaries and you're still enjoying dating someone, but you know they're not going to be a long-term relationship, then that's still okay to have a Mr. Right. So I coach a lot of people now through all of those different processes, different actions, with practical action plans at the end of each coaching session for them. Really excited because I've got some online courses that are coming out tomorrow as well, where you can get some great early bird prices, so that you can, if you can't afford to have one-to-one coaching with me, you can still have a selection of videos with workbooks so you can work through them all of the time in your own home. And really help you heal. You know, one of the biggest passions that I have right now is not to have anybody feeling how I felt for the length of time that I felt it, because this is just one door closing. You can absolutely move forward from this. However low you feel right now, as a divorce coach, I want to be the light at the end of your tunnel. I want to show you that there's hope, because there is. You wouldn't recognize me. At the end of my marriage and the beginning of my divorce, this was not who I was. I was a completely different person. Genuinely, you would not have known who I was. I have completely transformed. You know, I am happier now. I'm totally financially independent now. I'm running my business, which is my passion of helping other people through my darkest times. So using my dark days to show light to other people. And that's really important to me. I love helping other people. That's another of my lives that's going to be coming up. I'm an empath. So I am somebody who loves pleasing people. And ultimately being an empath means it's a great gift, but it can also bring great challenges. So I will be talking about that in some of my divorce recovery lives as well. How you as an empath can create your own boundaries to know of how to protect your own mental health and look after yourself. Because being an empath is a great gift, but my goodness, if you are in a relationship such as with a narcissist, it can nearly break you. It really can. So we need to know what we're looking for in scenarios like that as well. So I'm now really excited with my divorce and breakup coaching business. I've got a group on Facebook with nearly 3,000 women in now called Divorce and Breakup Support Group for Women. So if anyone wants to join, please come along and be in there. It's totally private, so the only people that see what is posted in the group are those that are in the group and the members within that. So don't worry, no, none of your friends will see it, your ex-partner isn't going to see it, and it's an amazing community in there. So I will post, you know, bits and bobs, motivation videos to help people within the group, but also it's a group of women all coming together, lifting, inspiring and supporting each other. The group is about being positive. It's not a group just to go in and start slating your ex-partner. I don't want a group like that. I get you want to offload, completely get that, but this is a group for you to move forward. I don't want you to stay stuck. I don't want you to stay in your sad place, because you continually telling your sad story is just going to perpetuate that and you're not going to move forward. I don't want you to stay where you are. I want you to go forth and really transform your life. So a big passion is I don't just want to help people bounce back. I want to help them bounce forward. And my own suffering with PTSD has led to what is called post-traumatic growth. So where I am now in my life with what I'm doing, this would never have happened had I not been through those really dark and low times. So post-traumatic growth is all about saying that, yes, I went through all of that. Yes, I was at rock bottom. But in spite of all of that, because of all of that, I have now gone on to be even happier, even more thriving, even more flourishing because of that. And if I hadn't have gone through that, I would have just gone back to living my normal life again. So I feel incredible gratitude as to what happened to me. Now, I know some of you watching will think, oh my God, I could never feel like that. And I get that, because I thought I would never feel like that. But with work and working on myself, then absolutely you can get there. And my online courses that are out this week, there's 3 different price points that you can go for. You know, the initial one is all about you going through the healing cycle. And every single video that you get, there is a workbook attached to this, so that you can work through them at home but have practical tools and strategies that are proven to help you heal and recover from your divorce. The middle one is about building up your confidence again, really working on yourself, really now starting to look at your confidence, your self-esteem, your identity again, getting rid of all of that negative self-talk. You know, a lot of all of those things that we go through that, yes, we might be coming through the other side, but now what? How am I going to start to live my life? How am I going to start properly healing now? Now I actually acknowledge I am going through a divorce. And then the final one, which is called Divorce Can Be Your Superpower. That is literally my power course. It is everything. It is literally from the should I stay go to actually all the way through up to dating again, designing your ideal partner. It's everything you're going to need. There's over 25 video modules on this one with workbooks attached to each of them. It's practical strategies using positive psychology. So it's science-based. It's going to work. It's rewiring your brain so that you can start to heal and recover from the trauma of going through your divorce or breakup. And I'm so excited to be able to share these with people, because I know that my own experiences, my own positive psychology experiences, being an accredited divorce and breakup coach, all of those factor in together so that I can help as many people as I possibly can heal and recover and see that divorce definitely can be a catalyst for change. You know, it doesn't have to mean the end of your life. It doesn't have to define you. It can be an exciting time of your life with a new future and new hope moving forward, however low you might feel right now. You know, and I've been really lucky that I've been able to share on BBC Radio recently. I've been in the Sun's Fabulous magazine sharing all about second marriages, because I believe, you know, I'm a real advocate of marriage, but I think you should be in a marriage where 2 people communicate and you are both really, really happy. So it's just because I'm a divorce coach doesn't mean I want everyone to go and get a divorce. Absolutely not. I want you to be happy first and foremost. And if you're not happy going through a divorce, I want to help and coach you so that you can be happier at the end of that. With my one-to-one coaching, if anyone ever wants to have a chat with me about that, one of my most popular coaching programs is called Paramedic Divorce Coaching, where you get a 60 or a 90-minute coaching session with me every single month, but you also have unlimited text and WhatsApp access. Now, the reason why I set up this coaching as that was one of the things that I knew was that things could crop up on a daily basis going through my recovery, that I felt like I couldn't maybe talk to my friends and family because I thought they're just going to get sick of the sound of my voice. So I felt really, really alone. But having somebody who can take the emotion out of it and give you practical tools to keep you moving forward, I knew that that would have really helped me. So people have a coaching session and then they can contact me anytime through that month via text or WhatsApp. So you might have a session with me and it's all really, really positive, but what if the next day you had a run-in with your ex-partner? I don't want you to wait till your next coaching session to deal with it. So we can communicate and I can keep you moving forward. I can get you looking at it in a different way. I can reframe it all so that you can keep moving forward. And this for me, I'm so excited, because what it means is that I get to help as many women as possible see that divorce can also be their superpower. It might not seem like it right now, but I can promise you it didn't seem like that for me 8 years ago either. And wherever you are in that process, maybe you're just starting, maybe you're even thinking about it, maybe you're down the line. Some people could be 10 years down the line and there's still that anger, there's still that depression and sadness attached to the divorce because you feel like your life is no longer as it should be. And whilst I completely understand all of that, I don't want you to stay in that place. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to live a life where you feel worthy, your confidence is being built on your self-esteem, your self-belief. Life is precious, and I know this having lost my mum at an early age. You know, life is precious, and do you really want to waste one more minute? Do you really want to waste one more minute waiting for your ex to apologise or acknowledge what they did? Or do you want to let go of that because they have the power of whether they choose to apologise or not? You need to take back your own power. What can you control? You can control your response, you can control your actions, and you can choose to make right now a step towards your healing. So I just wanted to share a little bit in the first video about myself, a little bit about my story. If you want to come along into my private group, then obviously please do so, and I'll pop the link in the comments below so you can join that. I'd love to see you all in there as well, because what will happen with my videos on a Sunday night, whatever my subject choice is that I'm going to be talking about, I'll then be going in my group and answering any questions from anybody, because that will obviously be in a safe and private environment, whereas obviously my business page is a public page as well. So anybody that obviously wants to join my group, wait till I finish. I'll pop the link obviously below so you can come along and be in there with lots of other women to feel like you're not on your own. I don't want any woman going through this to ever feel they are on their own, because I know what that's like. It is not a nice place to be. And I've always said if I didn't have my children during that time, I wouldn't be sat here right now doing the live. I really, really wouldn't. So I know if you are at rock bottom right now, know that I have been there. I know what it's like. You might not think that looking at me right now. I can promise you I was. You go and ask my father, you go and ask my sisters. I was at rock bottom. I was like somebody where the lights were on and nobody was home. It was like having an out-of-body experience. It was like I was looking in on my train wreck of a life, but it was my life and I was living it. So there is so much more obviously to my story as well. I haven't got time to go into everything right now, but I do have my book coming out, which is not next Friday, the Friday after, which you will literally be able to read warts and all of really the depths of where I got to rock bottom, and really honing in on how I got out of it, why I got out of it, what really, really helped me to where I am right now with my divorce and breakup coaching. Because I see that me going through all of that was actually a gift. It was a gift, so I can use all of my knowledge. I can put that all together, my experiences, my positive psychology, the practical exercises, so that I can help you guys heal and move forward. Because I know probably for a good few years I was stuck in victim mentality. Why me? I'm a good person. Why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. Really angry at everybody and angry at everything. That wasn't getting me anywhere. So rather than now feeling like you're a victim of your circumstances, let's be a student of life. You know what? You will have learned so much during this process. So rather than seeing everything as a negative all of the time, what are you learning? What can you take moving forward? You know, and I'm so passionate about that. I want to help you realise that this is not the end, whatever your age, may I add, whether you're in your 70s, 80s, this is not the end. You can choose to now look forward. Stop looking behind you. Stop looking at the past. You cannot change any of that. It's happened. And I'm not saying you're not going to have those moments where you're going to have a cry and everything else. Of course you are, because it was your life. And very often we're mourning from the loss actually of what we wanted it to be, as opposed to what it actually was. I know certainly for me when my absolute came through, I remember crying on a park bench just outside the courthouse. I wasn't crying for my love for him. I was crying because of the loss of what I wanted my marriage to be, what I went into my marriage expecting it to be. And it was the loss of all of those hopes and dreams that had gone. But you can reframe all of that and you can move forward. So I'm really excited with the divorce and breakup coaching to really hone in and show all of you that divorce can be your superpower as well. It's a catalyst to change. And however low you feel right now, I want to give you the hope. I want you to know that it absolutely can change, because I know it can. But it doesn't happen just by the click of a fingers. You're going to have to work at it. and you're going to have to make a commitment to want to change. So rather than having learned helplessness, where you feel like everything is gloom and doom, I want to teach you learned hopefulness. Because I want you to feel hopeful right now watching this video. Know that wherever you are in the stage, wherever you are in the process, it can get better if you proactively make a point of making a difference, of looking forward. So I hope you've enjoyed the first Divorce Recovery Live. I'll be back here again at 8 o'clock next Sunday night. If you feel like you have a friend, if you feel like somebody you know that needs to watch this, to know that there's hope, to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, to get them in my group so they know that they're not on their own, so we can start helping you heal and recover as well. Because if divorce can be my superpower, I know I can show you how it can be yours as well. You know, it doesn't have to define you. Your children can grow up and be happy, even if it's from a broken home, which has such negative connotations to it. My two children are so happy, well balanced. You know, I've got an amazing relationship with them and I feel really blessed for that as well. So I know all of the things that you feel like are overwhelming your head right now, I know we can change all of that. I know we can do things. So if you ever want a one-to-one chat with me, obviously, because I know it's a sensitive subject for a lot of people, please feel free to drop me a message. I'll pop the link to the group in the comments below. And I really look forward to sharing with you over the weeks some key things that I've learned, that I've known, just to help you keep moving forward. Even if you move a tiny little step forward, these tiny steps go into a big step, to a leap, to a giant leap, and all of a sudden, the weekend where you spend crying your eyes out, all of a sudden you start to think, I got through that weekend, that wasn't too bad. Because that will happen, and it will happen over time. It's not going to be an overnight event. It's going to be a process, but I want to be right by your side, being the light at the end of your tunnel and helping you through this process, because I know what it's like. I've been where you are, and I don't want you to stay 1 second longer in the state you are in. I want you to know there's light. I want you to know that there is hope, because there is. Absolutely, there is. So take care, have a great week, keep in touch. If you want me to do any lives on the Sunday with any particular subjects, I've got a whole list of ones that I want to do. But if you've got any subjects you would like me to discuss, please message me and I will get back to you. And obviously, if you want to have a chat at all with any one-to-one coaching, you can have a look on my website, carolinestrawson.com, and that will give you an idea of the sort of services that I offer as well. But please feel free, reach out to me. I don't want you to suffer. I want you to know that there is hope, and I genuinely want to help you in any way that I can move forward in this process, because life is precious, and you, and I'm talking to you right now, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to live a life where it's filled with love, where it's filled with happiness. You deserve to be happy. You deserve that. Don't think that you don't. Don't think your life is over, because it isn't, and I'm telling you. And if you need to borrow my belief in that now, do, because I'm strong enough. I've got strong shoulders to be able to do that for you. So have a great week. Like I say, reach out anytime. You know, I'm always at the end of the message as well, because I want to actually help you guys move forward, not just bounce back, but I want to help you bounce forward. So take care and have a great week.